This is the Education Business Podcast for consultants and business owners providing services in schools. I'm Claire Riley, and I'll be sharing how to start, grow and scale your education business. Today I want to talk to you about morning routines. Do you have a morning routine? Now, there's divided opinion on whether you need to have a morning routine or not to be successful. And then that throws up questions, doesn't it, around whether you need to be a morning person then to be successful, which I always think can be a little bit of a kick in the teeth if you're a night owl. And I don't really subscribe to the whole morning person, evening person kind of thing, because while we've all got a circadian rhythm, that can change, it can move, particularly depending on different circumstances and situations in your life. We've kind of got different phases, haven't we? So at this point in my life now, I really do struggle to do any work after 7 p.m. But that's because I'm used to not doing any after 7 p.m. You know, there was a time, obviously when I was a teacher, and I used to work every hour that was available. But also, you know, in our business, Classroom Secrets, there was a time when Hattie was a baby and Ed and I would just stay up burning the midnight oil every single night to move things on for Classroom Secrets. And, you know, we have to acknowledge that it was that dedication, commitment and sacrifice to put those hours in and get that work done that, you know, has had a big contribution to get us to where we are today. And I always do think to myself, when I think of that time, do you know what, I need to remember that more when I'm hard on myself. And maybe, as I'm saying this, maybe there's an area of your life where you're doing the same. You're just being too hard on yourself and you're not really remembering what effort you've put in. Maybe you're doing that about having a morning routine. I don't know. Because I feel like we think, oh, other people have got a morning routine, I need to have a morning routine. And, you know, that is why I love working with the 2-to-1 mentoring clients that we're working with at the moment. So Ed and I, we've modelled our 2-to-1 mentoring on the mentoring that we do with leaders at Classroom Secrets. So you just get both of us and you just share your journey, and, you know, we're able to help you look ahead and maybe point out what we can see in your way and give support and just somebody to share the journey with, to be honest. And you'll know from listening to this podcast that I just say what needs to be said. Sometimes, you know, that's good news, and sometimes it's just, maybe you should think about this. And if you're being too hard on yourself, then I tell our clients when they're being too hard on themselves and they just need to give themselves a break. So just bear in mind if you need to give yourself a break on things. Anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but I felt it was important as soon as it came up in the conversation. So anyway, morning routines. Before 2016, I didn't have an official morning routine. So looking back to my teaching days, I like to put on my computer and check my emails and my timetable for the day and maybe do a little bit of work. And I always wanted to get up and start working straight away whenever I've been in a work situation that was not constrained to me being at a place of work to start working. It's just the way my mind works. I like to get up and start straight away. So fast forward then a number of years to my days of tutoring and the early days of Classroom Secrets. I'd wake up, I'd jump out of bed. Seriously, I'd jump out of bed. Think like I don't know, some kind of cartoon, Dennis the Menace or something. Woohoo! Jump out of bed. And I'd just be excited to start working on whatever I was working on. And I'd work for around 2 hours solid, maybe a bit longer. Then I'd get some breakfast. And then after that, at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'd get showered and dressed. It did worry me, actually, like if the postman would come or if somebody would turn up at the door. But the funny thing was, when I then employed team members, one of them used to try to video call me at 8 a.m. because I was online at that time. And I don't think, I think we used Skype, I can't really remember, but I don't think there was the option to turn your video off and just have a voice call. And I suppose that was the first time really when I became more aware of how I'd set myself up with this system that really worked for me and the way I like to work. And I was struggling with a new member of the team then, just not knowing those boundaries. So I've had a lot of learning to do in that field to believe that it was okay for me to have those boundaries in the first place, and share those with people. And I'm not going to go into that because that podcast episode is a podcast episode on its own, really. Knowing what your boundaries are and being okay to share that with people and expect that they follow those boundaries because they're not unreasonable and you're not being unfair or anything. But anyway, yeah, so she used to video call me and I sometimes I'd answer and then duck. I don't know why I just didn't say, I'm not available before 10 a.m. because to be fair, I would do that now. I would say the reason why I want to do that is because I'm really focused on those hours. But I didn't know that then, but I know that now. So anyway, the only thing that I really did know at this point when it comes to morning routines or how I like to work is that I liked working in the morning, that I was focused then. But I didn't really think about working at different points in the day and why I might not be focused or anything. So if this sounds like where you're at right now, you need to do more work on this. This is a sign. Do more work on this. There's a lot more that you just need to discover and learn about yourself, how you work, how your brain works, how you work best as a whole. And that'll just help you be on your A game, which is what you need. If you had the opportunity to be more productive, get more things done, or get things done more quickly to have more rest time, I'm sure you'd say, yeah, I want that, please. So morning routines, and let's just go back a level again. Why do people even have a morning routine at all? Well, I'll tell you about when I first started to work on an intentional morning routine in a minute. But why bother? Why bother? So when I first explored the idea, it felt a little bit like a waste of time, but I wasn't negative towards it. It's just that I felt like, I could be doing valuable work in this time. And so it does take you a while to get your head around. And I think what probably didn't help me was a time of life that I discovered the fact that I needed a morning routine was probably not the best. But people have a morning routine because it helps them to connect with what's really important in their lives. So we're entrepreneurs, aren't we? We're focused individuals and we want to help others in a way that we know that we've got the skills for and where we can see a gap. So it's really easy for us to just focus on growing our business for 10 years and be laser focused. And sometimes, because of that laser focus, we can grow our businesses in a very lopsided, unbalanced way that just ends up giving us no life work balance because we think all about what we can output or clients we can serve, maybe just from our perspective as well, but not really think about all the other parts of the business that need to happen. And then we just ignore other pursuits that we always wanted to do, or maybe time with our families and our friends, or taking special holidays, or learning about how our brains work, hint, hint, personal development. And so a morning routine can actually bring us back to focusing on the other areas of our lives that we said we always wanted to look at, and then giving them equal importance. So to become more aware and strategic instead of just being blown along by the wind, basically. So, my morning routine journey then. So, the one where I started being aware that I had a morning routine, because I definitely had a morning routine before that, it was get up, work, and really hyper focus for a period of time. But I started this in 2016, and it was a few months after Hattie, who is our eldest daughter, was born. And so before she was born, I had the freedom to just get up and focus on work. But now I just didn't have that luxury. And I really struggled with that because I started to realize how that was the best time of my day in terms of really focusing and getting things done and working on what I wanted to. And it just felt like there were time constraints that I couldn't control. And I really struggled with that massively. And so I knew something had to change. So that's when I stumbled upon the book, The Miracle Morning. So it just opened my mind, did that book. to doing things differently. So if you haven't read it, I recommend that you do read it, and you can find a link in the show notes. And just to point out, if you do use that link, I will get a financial reward for the recommendation. Just to say that. But you don't have to use that link if that's not what you want. But you just need to buy the book, to be honest. It'll be really good for you to read or listen to the book. So when I read that book, it wasn't so much how to spend the time, because it does go through that I found intriguing. It was more the revelation that I could create more time by getting up earlier. And now I'm backtracking and trying to sleep more. But at that time in my life, this is what worked for me. And I know it might sound silly to think, well, of course you could create more time if you just got up earlier. But sometimes you just need people to point things out to you, especially if you've got a 4-month-old baby, probably really tired, really confused. So my journey of an official morning routine began at that point 6 years ago. So as time went on, I picked up other ideas, because if you read the Miracle Morning, they do the savers, and read the book to find out what I'm talking about. But later on, I read the 5 a.m. Club, and I did used to get up at 5 a.m. I've even got up at 4 a.m. At other points in my life as well. And so I've evolved my morning routine, and I also do what works for me as well. But over that time, my morning routine has included all of these things at some point. So, meditation, visualization, money tracking, reading, journaling on what will happen in the future, journaling on the current day, forgiveness letters, learning a language, walking, dancing, yoga, kettlebell workouts, green tea, water, lemon and Himalayan rock salt, a cold shower, like a freezing one, chatting with other business owners, listening to the Bible, saying affirmations to myself, training. I've probably missed some as well, but I've tried them all on. And you can't sit there and go, a morning routine doesn't work for me, if you're not willing to just give them a go. I've tried them all. And I suppose I was maybe at the time trying them for routine's sake, because you should do it. But I've come to the point now where I've realised you have to see what works for you and try on what works for you. But there are some ideas to get you started if you don't have a routine at all, or if you want to enhance your morning routine. So what do I actually do now then? In fact, actually, just before I say that, you also might want an evening routine as well. And I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about a morning routine. I do have an evening routine as well. But this is just for mornings. So it might be that some of the things you do in an evening, which is fine. Or at different points of the day that work for you. But anyway, what do I actually do now? So I've already said I don't get up as early at the moment, because I know that I need to prioritize sleep. So at the moment, I get up at 5:45. Well, I wake up at 5:45, and then I lie in bed and I visualize something, like what my life's going to look like in 12 months' time. And then at 6:10, I get up and I make a loose leaf tea. And I actually use the Growth Day app now. It's Brendan Burchard. So again, if you are interested in that, there is a link in the show notes. It's my referral link. So if you follow that, then if you actually sign up to it, I will get rewarded for that. So, but I journal about the day ahead, and I use the prompts there, which is really helpful. And I also spend about 15 minutes journaling another topic as well that I've written down on my to-do list to journal about. So sometimes I just have these little realizations, or I'll be listening to a podcast and I think, oh yeah, I should do that. So a good example might be doing a 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 year plan. You might even extend that to 25 years and 50 years. You might have heard that on a podcast and you might think, oh, I've never done that before, or oh, it's been a while since I did it, and you might write it on your to-do list, and then you can do that in a morning with your extra journaling time. That's what I do. So anyway, yeah, I So I use the Growth Day app and I review the day, and or I think about the day ahead, and then I also journal about a topic I want to journal on. Then I spend about 5 minutes learning Serbian, just because Ed's got family members who speak Serbian. I'm the only one in the family who wants to learn, really. But I just think it's interesting. So I'm not doing too bad, to be honest. I drink a glass of water, like 500 mils. I also do take a vitamin D as well. And then I also listen to the Daily Fire in the Growth Day app as I'm getting ready. And then my morning routine actually does continue with some extra things as I'm getting ready and as I'm doing the school run. But I suppose you could say that's my core morning routine. And so I don't ditch the other activities. Obviously, I might not do them all and not necessarily every day. I just do them at different points in the day. So yeah, I'm just going with the flow and working it out. And if you listen to the episode last week, you'll know that I could have a completely different morning routine by the time we get to next month, because novelty is a big thing for me. And I've learned to be okay with that. Like, that is okay. I'm always exploring what is good now, what do I need now out of a morning routine, what do I need out of life. So I need this newness. But what is important is that I'm bringing these important aspects of my life to the forefront and then constantly assessing how I'm using my time and what I'm focusing on. So hang on, is it just all about work? Do I get up and work and then spend all of my time on work or this business I'm building? Or am I thinking about other things like learning Serbian is completely different? Am I journaling about what I want in the future, or am I putting all my mental energy into building a business that could go out of control? So it's just about making sure that you've got a more rounded view of your life, basically. So my question to you then is, how are you spending your time? How does your morning set you up for success, whether you have a morning routine or not? Ask yourself those questions, or you could work with a mentor who will challenge you in those areas as well, to start thinking about what tools you need to use in a morning to set you up for the rest of the day. Thank you for listening to the Education Business Podcast. To get more information to grow your business, sign up at educationbusinessclub.co.uk.